Listen. Hey tubers! Welcome back for another adventure. You are looking at the $370 Kawasaki Bayou. I believe it is 1988 vintage. It's a really pretty machine from the point of view of it seems to have all its bits and parts. All good things. As a matter of fact, it came with the airbox and all this leftover stuff here. All good. The front tires are even Dunlop, so those might be original. The backs have been swapped out. Anyway, we were told that this has low compression, and he put a jump pack on it. When I went to look at it, he turned it over. It was doing the huff and puff, so what happened, I'm not sure. Just from when you look at a machine point of view, you could see somebody fooled around with the head here. As a matter of fact, you got the wrong head bolts on it. It's like they kind of lost them, and I didn't happen to see the head bolts in with the hardware that was included, so at least that did spin in. Now, obviously the recoil has a broken rope here, and I see a little chip there, so I'm wondering maybe they took it apart and damaged, put the timing together wrong, and the piston came up and smashed into the valves. You don't know these things until you find out. By the way, the other two bolts I took out were crazy tight. So there's no rope in here. Hopefully, yeah, it seems to have the spring. So that's all good news. Wow. He says it's got no compression. Seems to have compression. I want to turn it over by hand just to make sure I don't hear any clanging or banging or bad sounds before I put juice to the starter. This is probably the wire from the pulse generator. It's blue. Obviously charging. That's ground. The wires are a little messed up also. When you're looking them over, you always want to be observing things like, are there cracks here? Any of that kind of stuff. I'm not seeing that. This actually looks like a pretty decent machine. I think somebody used it to tow their boat, right? You got that big receiver there, and then if you look around out back, the way the exhaust is punched in, they were probably backing it into things as they were trying to maneuver their boat. Once again, with a little open eyes, you could observe a lot of things about a machine. Kind of the way the handlebars look. If you straighten them out, this thing might have at some point did a tuck and roll, right? This looks pulled back a little bit. Anyway, let's turn it over by hand and see what it sounds like. So it does have a spark plug in it. It's kind of important if you're seeing if there's any compression. Put a 14 right up against it. I think that's just the valves with that clank. I hope. Or maybe it's me banging the foot peg. You could tell this is an older machine because it doesn't have a hinge on the foot peg. So I feel safe putting some juice to the starter over there, and we'll see what it sounds like, see what kind of compression we get out of it. So I had to pop the plastic off to make it a little easier to work on. Wiring, quite honestly, looks pretty torn up here. So I don't know what these guys were up to. I'm just gonna hit the starter directly. I mean, it's cool that he put a lot of the bolts back where they belong, right? Key switch. So a lot of good things are here. I always wonder what they die of before I get to them. But yeah. Let's put some juice on that and see what happens. Here we go. Making popping sound, but it seems to be popping out the exhaust. I'll take the compression, but I don't think it's going to be really worth talking about. Well, let's see what we got here. Make sure I didn't leave it behind. So it looks like under 30. Let's oil it up and see what happens. So all oiled up here, and reset. Let's see how she does. Lucky if I got 40 out of that. Well, this isn't going in the right direction. My experience, you need 70, 75 on one of these things, 80 for it to start. Sometimes you could get them to start with 60 if you give them, as you're turning them, you give them a little blast of starting fluid, a little whiff, actually, not a blast, just a little whiff of starting fluid. But at 40, she ain't starting. So let's figure out what her problem is. Could be rings, or it could be valves. Really doesn't look like they pulled those off lately. It looks like there's still quite a bit of dirt around them. I don't know, maybe that one's been pulled off. But let's yank those, make sure that the valves aren't too tight. Boy, that'd be a nice easy repair, eh? So you want to make sure there's no tension on the valve. Don't mind me while I do this with one hand. It's pretty tight. I think I'm going to loosen that one up, and we'll check the intake also. I loosened up the exhaust. You can hear it, and I made sure the intake is not being pushed on. It's real tight too, so let me loosen that one up. One thing I have to warn about Kawasaki's, the way they set up their timing is if your valves are too loose, your motor will kick back. With the recoil, it'll tear your arm off and beat you about the head and face with it. And with the electric starter, it'll kick back hard enough to break things, so or at least dramatically wear your starter. So do yourself a favor, make sure you get the your valve lash correct on these things. So I loosened up the intake, you hear it? And all right, let's assume there's enough oil. Let's 72, something like that. She might just start. The intake was definitely a little tight there. Well, forget a little tight, it was a lot tight. So, who knows? Keep your fingers crossed. Maybe it'll start. It's doing the huff and puff pretty good. And if the valves were going to get banged up, they would have got banged up. So, and I'm letting you guys in on my troubleshooting and my thought process. I think that I'm going to prepare it, give it a hoot of starting fluid, and see if we can't get a little something out of it. A little something. I have to tell you, it's nice having my original toolbox is still hiding somewhere, but it's nice having all the pieces put back together again in one piece. Just makes everything go so much quicker. Time to check the oil. So it's got oil in it. I normally run them with a little more than that, but it's halfway on the sight glass, so it should be okay. So it appears as if I have enough compression. Now I'm going to go after spark, and you see that blue wire and that black wire. I'm going to know that those go to the pulse generator. How do I know? Well, a couple of things. First of all, elimination. I looked up the stator on eBay, and I could see yellow wires and red and blue wires or black wires coming off of the stator, so I know it's not those. I know it's these two also because I followed them around and went to the CDI box here, and there you see them. So I'm just going to unplug those and plug those into my portable CDI box. So you got this portable CDI box. How do you hook it up? This is a piece of cake. So this goes to your pulse generator, and make sure it actually does go to your pulse generator. We already figured out the wires by looking at eBay. And then to the black wire, I hooked my ground, and to my blue wire, the high side of the pulse generator, I hooked my red that goes to the high side of the pulse. The CDI looking for the pulse generator inside the box. I hooked ground up to the case there, plugged in the spark plug wire. This CDI box is all ready to go. All I have to do is turn it on. I got this still going to the starter. This is obviously a cold start. I'm not confident that it's going to start. And I'm going to lose the cap. And if you spray a little starting fluid, remember, just a hoot will do ya. And I don't have enough hands. I got to go get the tripod. So I think you can see everything, including the exhaust here. So, turn that on, make sure I got 12 volts, give that a little hoot of starting fluid, and listen. Haha, runs. Smoke's pretty good too. What do you guys think? This was looking like a dead machine, and suddenly it's alive. So the Bayou 220 runs. Now what? Well, we start off by collecting up all the parts that we've been given. We got to fix the recoil starter. So all great things. That carburetor is a clone of the Mikuni. I don't much care for the Mikuni carburetor, and I believe the clone is worse than that. So I'm probably gonna hack it. I'm probably gonna smash a PZ27 on there. So I got to build a PZ20 sub carb mount, get it on there, get a PZ27 on there, get the air cleaner assembly on it, fix the recoil, put that on. I think I could just reach right in here and deal with the choke so I don't have to hook up the choke cable. Then I got to start sniffing around the electrical system to see what they're up to. I was told that separate wires, melty separate wires, were run to turn the starter on and off, you know, to engage the starting solenoid, and that they did not work. So I need to spend a little time with the tomfoolery of the wiring system. Wonder if I can make a CDI box, a portable CDI box that you can mount right in between the handlebars there, that had a little LED headlight on it and the switches that you can turn on the lights and make the starter go in the whole bit. Obviously have a real battery in there, but be able to engage the starter relay from here. That'd probably be a good thing to have. Because if I had that, once I got a carb on it, I could get it out for a ride. I wouldn't have to spend any real quality time with the wiring. Whatever. Let me guys know what you think of this video and this machine. This looks like one of those machines, honestly, that could come back and be a good looking item to own and ride. It's a good shape, good size, good shape, good wheelbase. It's heavy, so given a choice between this and a 200SX, I'd prefer the 200SX. It's a little lighter. This thing is heavy. This thing, I guess it would be called a sport utility machine because of all the racks, but it's heavy. It really is heavy. So anyway, there we go. Let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. It's good to get my stuff back in order here. It's almost like I can work again. Feet down, heads up, get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.